too. Okay. Oh, I mean, the first thing I want to do is thank Cindy. Cindy, thank you so much for hosting last month. I did watch it and it was wonderful. You guys are good talkers.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you to Martha and Terry and Bobby also. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yes, I appreciate all of their work every month when they take care of some of these technical things that I can't handle that in.
Absolutely, and it's always good to have that moral support.
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. Well, thank you for covering for it. We really couldn't do this without you. Thanks.
Yeah.
So my first question is there anyone who is new to the group? And I ask you to speak up. Okay, well, no newbies, but we'll kind of go through that. I still want to tell you, don't test if you don't want surprises.
The
Everybody,
question has been asked several times is who iPhone is.
what was that, Martha?
Several people have asked who iPhone is. We have a person
Oh,
signed in called iPhone.
maybe the person who has the iPhone as their handle could speak up and just give us a no. Okay. Um, a note that our next meeting is going to be in September. We're going to take the summer off so that we can all find new cousins. So we'll be meeting again September 3rd. I'll send out a notice for that too. Well, this doesn't. I don't think this is what we want to do here, guys. I don't know what happened. Okay,
You're back.
go back.
No, I said you're back.
I'm
Whatever.
back. Good, good, good. Okay. The society is going to have a presentation by Janelle Davidson. She's wonderful. She knows just so much about so many things. So she's going to do exploring unindexed records at Family Search. And I'm sure that's going to be really informational. So I urge you to do that. And if you are not a member, I also urge you to get that membership in and join the society. So announcements. I don't really have any announcements other than the society's meeting. But if anyone has a DNA Society meeting, you're welcome to make any announcement. Can you catch that, please?
Got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Vernon, did you have
Yeah, I guess I could show you just a minute.
Oh, wait, here, let me stop sharing if you're going to show something.
You did. You stopped.
Okay.
So our next DNA group meeting at the Marin County Genealogical Society is on June 20th, a Thursday at 7 p.m. And we're still going through the series of blog topics by Roberta Estes, and the next one on June 20th is how to share DNA results and tree ancestry. This isn't very different than the when we did last month. I'm sorry?
Uh, I think we had an unknown caller in there somewhere.
Oh, okay. So if you go to our website at maringensoc.org, and this is the home page, and you can get here to the DNA meeting from the home page. You just scroll down until you see this, and you go to the event announcement and then click register, and it will let you register and send you a Zoom link. You don't have to be a member. Anybody can come to our meetings in general.
And
So-
your group always has some really good conversations.
Pardon?
Your group has
Question?
good discussions.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Josie?
I said your group always has very good discussions.
Well, we try.
Yeah.
Everybody tries.
Okay. All right, I'm not going to pull that thing back up again. That's a waste of time. I'm just going to tell you what our agenda is for today. So Terry is going to tell about a new cousin, I guess, that she has found, and then we'll talk about well, we'll find out if you've done any DNA chromosome painting or anything while I was away. So Terry, do you want to start?
I certainly can. Let's see, share. How's that? Can everybody see? Great. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this match named Pam. And I think I mentioned last month that she was kind of a high match for my dad, but I knew what side of the family she was on, but I couldn't place her. And so I'll tell you, I've placed her. So I'll tell you about that. There we go. So she's 291 centimorgans to my dad. It's a pretty darn good match.
That's big.
Yeah, she was definitely the top one that I hadn't identified. And it said paternal side. All the shared matches are on the paternal side. And just as a note, this is the surprise father side that I found for my dad. So it turned out, I think everybody knows the story, but briefly, it turned out about, was it 9 years ago now, through DNA testing, that we found out that my dad's dad was not his biological father, even though he raised him and was in his life the whole time. And I was able, through DNA testing, to find descendants and identify his birth father. So this is on that same crazy branch. Okay. So of course, the first thing I always do when I get a centimorgan is to figure out kind of what the possible relationships are. So for 291 at DNApainter.com, I knew it was a half relative. So my options were pretty much in this range here. Even though this is grayed out, it is a statistical probability, even though nobody had reported it through the CM project. So I figured that was probably where we were, a different generation from my dad. So that is what I started with.
So what company was Pam on?
Ancestry.
Ancestry? Okay.
Yeah. So I wrote her in December and told her that here are 4 surnames. I'm assuming one or more must be your ancestors. Do you know anything? And she just wrote back May 8th. And you can see she said she was sorry for the delay. She does not have a lot of information because she was adopted as an infant. Did not know the names of my birth parents. What I know is that my birth mother was 20, I believe, and my birth father between 20 and 22. She was born in San Francisco in May 1969, which makes her 55 now, and would put her birth parents between 75 and 77. She also said she didn't know if her birth mother told her birth father she was pregnant. So she also, which was great, included this information that of her top matches for this parent. So SD is a huge,
She included this in her first
yeah,
email?
yeah,
That's great. Yeah.
yeah, it was really nice. I think she's, decided I must maybe could help her figure something out. So her top match is this SD at 15%, which is a huge match. So she put everything in percentages, which is not how I think, but that's okay. DNA Painter will translate everything for you. RM is my dad. Here is my brother, PM. Here's me. And here's my dad's half nephew. And then these other ones, John D, Aunt, George D, and SD, were all unknown to me. So she said that SD is this big match. She asked if I knew him or her. It has a male picture next to the image on Ancestry, so assuming it's a male. But what 15% translates to is 1,116 centimorgans. Yeah, that's a really big match. And then George is 298. John is 149. And George, John, and SD all have the same last name. So I've graded out, but it starts with a D. So that was a pretty good hint as well. So I went back to DNA Painter and put in 15%. That's where I got the 1,116. If this is Pam, this person is either a male, is either her nephew or her uncle. So it's a really close relationship, 97%. So that is good information. So then I went to the tree and here's my dad. Here's his bio father. His bio father had a brother, William. William has a daughter, Gertrude, and Gertrude marries into this D family. And they have 4 sons. So I think Pam is probably the daughter of either Thomas or Daniel, because the other 2, well, she's born in 69, so that's impossible. This one's, he'd be what, 16 or something? I mean, I guess it's possible, but probably unlikely. So I think Thomas and Daniel are the 2 likely suspects. Unfortunately, Thomas died in 1995, but Daniel is alive. And interestingly, I don't know if I think Patty's on the call. So I had just gotten this email from Pam back with this information and mentioned it to Susan and Patty and Allison. We were doing a Zoom. And of course, what happens when you get 4 genealogists on a Zoom with some compelling information? Everybody's going at it. And everybody's pulling up different stuff. And through Genealogy Bank, I think it was Patty that found an article about a picnic that happened in Marin County with Gertrude and her sons, which is where I got the information from initially, and then verified it with California Birth Index information. So it's amazing what you can find out there. So the working hypothesis is that Pam is likely the daughter of Thomas. And SD, I think, could possibly be Kevin's son. I can't find any of the birth records for these children. And it's also possible that instead of being the half nephew, it could be Daniel as the half uncle instead. But it was interesting because Sean, one of the children of Thomas, passed away in an auto accident. And I'm wondering if SD is renamed in honor of him, of his brother. I don't know. That's my thought, perhaps.
Were they born about the same time? I mean, was the half nephew born about the time that Sean died?
I don't know. I don't know. But Kevin was born in 66. Sean died in 87, so he was 21 years old. So you would think it would be fresh in his memory if he then had kids in
Right.
his 20s. But that's a total hypothesis. I mean, a total thought, you know. So then the other D matches, of course, I couldn't stop. I got to figure out who's George and who's John. So I do a little more research and find out that William had a brother, George. So now we're on the D family side. And of course, there's lots of Georges. There's George Jr., George III. He finally, thank God, names his child John, just for a change, but spells it the same way, Jon. So I think, and this works out, I think these are George and John, and works out as a first cousin, half first cousin once removed to Pam. And John D would be a half second cousin. So I have, of course, shared all this with Pam. We've had a few long conversations. She's worked with somebody on the other side of her matches to identify her mother, and found out that her birth mother is alive and has other children as well. She sent a certified letter to her birth mother on May 22nd, but the birth mother hasn't gone to the post office to sign for it yet. And so she is trying to figure out what she's going to do. I guess the post office will return it to her, and she can then either decide to send it directly to the address she has, or maybe do some more work on that end. Because she said that she doesn't know if the birth father knows of her existence. She wants to reach out to the birth mother side first before reaching out to the D family. And of course, she's like, which cousins? Because they're my cousins too, because of my dad. What cousins do you know in this D family? I said, I don't know any of them, sorry. So I'm not much help to her, but that is what I found. There's my little story.
That's a very sensitive situation for Pam, isn't it?
It is. It's tricky because, and she's, in another state now, and both her parents, her adoptive parents that are her parents, that have passed away. So she's really interested, and she's got a family herself, but she's really interested in connecting. And interestingly, either her father or her uncle, Daniel, has a bunch of videos online, speaking of YouTube, because he is kind of an alternative healer, kind of medicine, that kind of thing in Marin County. And he's got a bunch of videos online. So she was watching it, and she sent me pictures of herself, and there's definitely a resemblance to him. So whether it's her father or her uncle, I don't know, but I'm on pins and needles waiting to hear the rest of the story from her. I'll keep you all posted.
So her next step is she's not going to reach out to the D family. Is that what I'm hearing?
She doesn't want to reach out to them until she talks to her birth mother and finds out if her birth father ever knew she was even around, if he knew that his girlfriend was pregnant. The story that she heard through her adoption agency in San Francisco was that both of her parents were from Buffalo, New York. And I said, these people were all born in San Francisco. They're all native Californians. And so I don't think they gave her the right information, but interestingly, her birth mother is from Buffalo. And so the mother was there. The story she heard was that the mother came to San Francisco to have the baby, to hide it from her family and friends. But what I think probably happened was the boys, either Daniel or Thomas, were in college at that time in the Bay Area. And she was here for whatever reason, school, work, whatever, got pregnant and decided to stay and have the baby in May before going home. but that's supposition.
Mhm.
But I do wonder because I know two different people that have found out their birth father, and neither of the birth fathers knew of their existence. They didn't know the girlfriends were pregnant, and they were both overjoyed to welcome these two people into their family. So I kind of want her to reach out to them, but it's not my job. So
Yeah. Does anyone else have any experience with situations similar to this?
Cindy.
No, Terry, I just wanted to say, wow, wonderful sleuthing and interesting. And I would agree with your hypotheses. Just wow, amazing that you were able to make so much headway on that. And I'll be real curious and hoping for the best for Pam and connecting with family members. I think that's exciting.
It is, yeah. I told her she has to come. She said, I've always considered myself part Californian because I was born there. It's great to know my father was a native. And I said, yeah, you'll have to come back out. And, I want to meet her, of course, because she's my cousin too. And so anyway, we'll keep the story going.
Did you say she's your half first cousin twice removed or something?
Let's see. What is she? I think she's a half second, maybe. Something like that.
Second cousin.
Or
Okay.
maybe what was she to my dad? I forget. Oh, I'm sorry. To my dad, she was a half first, twice removed. So that would put her at a
Second once removed.
removed. Yeah.
A second cousin once removed, I think.
Yeah.
Somebody else can figure
I
that
think that's
out. I can't do that without a chart in front
I know
of me.
the generation thing is tricky.
Yes, very difficult.
Thanks to, I think I saw Patty on here. Thanks to Patty too. She was enrolled in the process as well, for better or for worse.
That's great.
But,
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we all like to get as much help as we can on any of these. Again, has anyone else had any experience with situations that were sensitive like this? Vernon.
So not exactly like this, but I volunteer from time to time at the Family Search Center in Centerville, and we don't get very many people coming these days, but a few, a trickle. And I got one guy who came in and wanted help in terms of the DNA and so on. And initially what he said to me was he suspected that the guy who brought him up wasn't his birth father. And so I said to him, if you could, and he's still living. So I said, if you could convince him to do a DNA test, that would tell you immediately. And he said initially he didn't want to do that because he didn't want his father to think that he doubted that he was his biological father. So I convinced him otherwise. I said, for everybody, if you can test your father, that's really one of the best things that you can do, because you only get 50% of your father's DNA. So if you can test your father or your mother, then you're reaching far back into ancestors whose DNA you might not have at all. And so I think that convinced him. So he talked to his father, and his father had no problem doing the test. And the test came back, and guess what? He wasn't his biological father. So so the guy who came to me decided that he would not tell his father because he just didn't want to upset things, you know. The interesting thing is, though, that when his results came back, which included, well, no, the guy who came to me who wanted to know about his father did. I told him to do ancestry DNA as well as, I forget what he had done, 23andMe or something. But anyway, when his results came back, he had a really big match, which was his daughter.
Oh,
Oh,
And
wait. The
Oh.
guy who came to you, the guy who came to you about
about
what
his
he thought
father,
was,
and
he thought was an
so-
unknown
so
father.
he learned two things by doing DNA.
uh,
So so he sent a message. This is on Ancestry. So he sent a message to his daughter, and she has, last I heard, she had not responded. So I asked him, I said, did you know that you might have a daughter? And he said, well, yeah. He said that the the girl's mother had contacted him way back and got him to agree not to not to try and find out anything about the daughter. So he knew that she'd had a child. He just didn't know anything about the child.
Mm.
So that's all we know at the moment. He wasn't there at the Family Search Center last time I went, so I don't know if he's found out more since he last talked to me. He emails me very sporadically.
Well, that's a most interesting story.
Yes. 2 for 1.
yeah.
For what? Well, that's what we talk about, surprises.
Yes.
Don't test unless you're willing to
Yeah.
take on surprises.
Yeah.
So the father must not have realized that what the impact of him taking a DNA test would be, right?
Apparently not.
And the son didn't
Well,
tell
if
him.
he did, he didn't, he wasn't saying anything.
Wow.
I think they're happy with their relationship, and at least for the son, he's not wanting to upset that relationship.
Yeah.
How old is the father that took the test?
I'm not sure I remember now. Younger than me, but old,
It's just it's really difficult for us doing this, I'll call it hobby, and finding out other people's secrets.
Mm.
One of the things I like is Pam, Terry, your cousin Pam's. I like her thought process about how I want to say, she kind of wants permission from someone she knows, or she knows who that is, before she proceeds. On the other hand, the D family, like you said, the D family might really want to know.
Exactly. Yeah. I know it's tricky.
Anyone else have anything? I don't think we can beat Vernon's
Yeah, that's
story. Yeah, yes, Bobby.
Question to Terry, how, okay, so it was from December to May, basically 5 months, where you were able to develop the information that you had.
Oh, well, in December, I knew that she would be on that side of my dad's family. And I
Right.
knew she was a fairly close match to my dad. I mean, not his child or anything, but close-ish. And then I just kind of put it away because I figured her last name that she has is not a name anywhere. Of course, that could be a married name, right? So I didn't get too excited about that. Doesn't have a tree. And she didn't answer me. So I thought, well, I know she's somewhere and there's a million of these, that other family. My dad had, unbeknownst to him, had until he was 87, had 10 half siblings and they all had a bunch of kids. So there's a million of cousins. And then this family is obviously connected because one of the kids married, this other family. So, yeah, so anyway, I wrote in December. I didn't hear anything until she went back on Ancestry and she told me that there were other messages that she saw there too. So she said, oh, I think something's wrong with my email. I said, I don't think it's your email. I think there's a setting on Ancestry you have to say, don't let me know when I have messages. So I was thinking who else was saying that they hadn't heard, oh, Vernon, when you were just saying that he hadn't heard back from the daughter, could be that she doesn't have the message thing turned on either and doesn't go back to Ancestry to look at anything. So anyway, Pam said that she would go back and check her settings, but
I didn't realize there was a setting like that.
yeah, I thought the default was that it is to notify, but maybe they've changed it and now it's not. I don't know. Do you know?
I'll have to check.
No, I don't know. Let me see.
'Cause you can set it up so that nobody even sees your DNA results.
Right.
And you can also,
Is somebody set up to show their Ancestry account? Because we can go into settings.
I could bring it up. I don't have it open though. Anybody have a browser open?
I hate.
Let's see how.
I'm not doing real well today, so I hesitate to volunteer to do this. Let's see.
Okay, here we go.
Where is it? Oh, you're doing it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm trying to get signed on. Okay, I'm signed on. Let me share my screen. Whoops. Okay.
Let's explore here.
I think it is over here. Here.
That would make sense. Account settings.
Yeah. And
How about communications?
communications, yeah. These are all the yeah, so let's see, are discovered based on, I'm talking about it. You will be notified when new information, that's not what I want. Oh,
You're always making occasional.
messaging, here it is, here it is, here it is. Messaging on. Yeah, well, that's not
I
it.
think you're right. I think it's messaging on.
But this is
Allow other members to contact you through Ancestry's online messaging system.
but that's not getting an alert that you have a, is it message? It wouldn't be message boards. I looked at DNA tests. Let's see. Unsubscribe from the above notification. So maybe that's it. Email and push notifications you receive from Ancestry. And I looked at
That's a push notification.
yeah. I thought it used to be more straightforward, but anyway, I told her to call Ancestry, and then they told her that we both had to get on the line with Ancestry. I was like, I don't know where it is. I don't think
Well, yeah, I don't see anything that looks maybe public profile.
Well, I don't know. I'll do research and see if I can find it.
Okay.
Martha, you're on mute if you want to say something.
Who is? Oh,
So
Myrna?
Patricia, I remembered there's a bit more to the story I was telling you.
Oh,
So,
you already had a lot of stories.
yeah. So he had a pretty sizable match on his father's side, so his biological father, and I think we figured out who his biological line is, who his father is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
It's sometimes since I looked at that. I think so. Let me just go back here a minute. Let me just see if I can. No, he died in 2004.
Ah, okay. He probably has siblings, though, half siblings somewhere.
Could be, but I'm not sure we got that far.
Mm.
Well, again, that's pretty touchy for, I watch all of those stupid long lost family and finding your roots, and I cry every time. And even the reruns, I cry over and over on them. So, but I know they're semi set up,
Right.
but they're real people,
Yeah.
and there's really a lot of story and a lot of feelings there. So it's really sensitive.
It turned out that they were a family of Italian immigrants.
Mm.
Oh, recent immigrants?
Well, Furley, not his father, but grandfather, I think was, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. So you wouldn't expect to have a lot of matches on that particular line.
Well, there was this one strong match who was it? No, I think the son it would have been a nephew or a half nephew.
Pat, Long Lost Family, you remind me, I was telling Pam about that show. She had never heard of it. So as we were talking on the phone, I pulled it up, and the first episode of the series, which I don't really remember, although I know I watched them all, it was on quite a while ago. The first episode was titled, "This is the Call That I've Been Waiting to Get for 22 Years." And so I sent that to Pam, and she almost started crying. She's like, wow. So, I said, you never know.
Yep. Yeah, you never know. You don't know what Pam's mom's situation is.
Right. She may, yeah. I told her she may not have gone to the post office because she might think it's a government thing or taxes or,
Yeah.
And who wants to go to the post office anyway? She might be on vacation. I mean, there's lots of things. So, or she might have a wrong address too. That's a possibility.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, more to come.
I had a cousin who was adopted and his mother had been raped.
Oh,
She didn't want to hear from him, but the aunts he was an American Indian. and Native American, whatever we're calling them these days, indigenous person. Anyway, his aunts, his mother died soon after that, and his aunts were very kind to him, and he has died now, but the aunts were interested in him.
Well, that's one of the things I struggle with, certainly when we find situations that are not easily explained, and that is we don't know if some of these situations are consensual or not consensual.
Right.
I, personally, my heart can only assume that it's consensual and they had a good time. I'm gonna go with that. Because any other thoughts are not comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
There are as many stories as there are people. Honestly, there are so many. Do you watch Relative Race still? I still watch that. I always say, this is stupid, I'm not going to watch it anymore. And then I watch it. I always wonder what happens down the years, how much that person really does get involved with the family.
Mm.
Given that the person usually already has a family, I don't know. Anyway, there are so many stories, so many combinations and permutations, and it could be anything.
Well, that's something that I often wonder, not so much about finding your roots, because that's a different format, really. But long lost family, I wonder how long people stay in touch, with family. Also on there, they're very sensitive to if the unknown parent, says they don't want to know, or they don't want to get in touch with that person. Most of the time they just kind of ignore that in the storyline. Because if you'll think about it, so many of the adoption stories, they only follow one side.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. So Terry, your father, you said your father he thought he was an only child till he was 80,
Till he was
87.
87. He was an only child.
Right. And then he had 10 siblings.
Yeah, 10 half siblings.
Wow.
That of course were his 10 or more years older than he was. So yeah.
So did he meet any of his
He didn't
siblings?
meet the half siblings because they were all gone. I mean, he was 87, so they would have
Right.
been 97 and on up if they were alive.
Oh, yeah.
So, but the half nephew, Jack, and who's now deceased, but we met him, his family, his brother. So I had a barbecue at my house several years back and invited a bunch of them. It was really fun. They brought
So
pictures.
you played the Lewis Gates role
Yeah.
and brought everybody together.
Without the big photo album. Yeah.
Right.
And the big chart. But I
and
did draw up a
roll out
whiteboard.
charts. Yeah.
Mm.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or
I
comments?
was just curious. I'm sorry, I couldn't get unmuted here. So Terry, the family that his birth family was local?
Yeah. My dad was born in San Francisco, and
Okay.
his birth father was also Irish. I mean, that's how we found out, because he grew up with an Italian name, Mortola, as did I. And but he has 0%.
And you're Mortola, and you have 0 Irish,
I'm
Italy.
a big fraud. And so yeah, so that was kind of one of the first clues, was the DNA test that showed no Italian.
Okay.
But you still have spaghetti.
Sometimes.
Still loves it.
Yes.
Still loves it, right? Okay. Okay, so let's talk about some of the lessons learned you guys have been. Has anybody done any like the chromosome painting, chromosome mapping, any of that, and learned about their ancestors? You know, found places for those DNA matches? No? Oh, okay. Yes, Cindy.
I just wanted to say Dean's not in the room right now, but Dean, a few days ago, started for the first time exploring with the chromosome, the DNA painter, and was really intrigued with it. And I'm dying to do it too as soon as I get a chance here and get some other things off my plate first. But anyway, found it very interesting. Realized just how incredibly time consuming it was going to be, but did get some of the chromosomes painted, and he's had a chance to do a little bit of genealogy just recently, and I think it was just last night even found another connection.
Oh,
And to even align, he knew that the branch existed, but then the next generation down didn't realize that there had been another child and was another male branch. So this DNA connection was from that line. And so a clue was it carried the last name, but in any event, he was able to piece things together and I think reached out to the person. And this was literally just last night. So, you know, information is always coming in, and you always have the opportunity to make discoveries and connections. And so
good.
yeah, so he made a little headway. I'm hoping this coming month, the next couple months to have a chance to do some genealogy too.
Good. Well, I sent out that case study that was on Family Tree DNA, their blog. I thought that was absolutely wonderful that somebody would do. I mean, she touched just about everything there is to do. She did the DNA, she did the traditional research, you know, and she put the pieces together. And I just was fascinated with how well she put that together. And I keep thinking that's kind of, I mean, you could use that as a pattern, as a methodology for any brick wall that you have, or um, you know, anybody that you're any branch that you're looking for, you know, use your DNA matches and go. Anybody else do any particular research recently? Yes, Gail.
You're on
Wait, can't hear you.
There we go. All
There
right,
we
I'm still looking on my Stewart line, and I contacted Patricia. She gave me some information to work on, including clustering. I haven't done that yet, but I asked for a whole report from legacy genealogists. It costs quite a bit of money. So I'm working on they give you a summary page to work on. And one of the pieces was, it said, continue tracing the family tree of 23andMe match Brent Phillips. I had no idea who he is. He is likely a relative of the Stewart line. So I contacted him 2 months ago. He didn't get that one. I contacted him again, and this time he responded. And he's very excited. He went to 23andMe and he said, usually when I do this, I have a couple of matches. He said, you and I have 22 pages of matches.
Oh,
I haven't looked at them yet. I'm kind of scared. But anyway, he communicates really well. He just had a daughter who graduated last week. It was my birthday was last week, graduation was last week, end of school was last week. So it was really a tight week to do anything. But he's going to take the Y700 test from Family Tree DNA. So all of you, if you get anything in your email about a sale, I'm looking for the sale for Father's Day, let me know right away because I'm going to order it for him and he'll take that test and then we'll see where we go from there.
Well, I looked up all the sales and it doesn't look like too many of them are having sales. I did see that Ancestry is is probably going to have a sale starting on the 16th, probably a Father's Day sale. But
Right.
I am sure that FTDNA is going to have the sale for their Y.
Yeah, I think so. And it usually drops about, $70 or something like that, but any amount of savings is good. So anyway, we're waiting for the sale. I'll order the thing. He'll take the test and then we'll see where we go from there.
Good, good, good. Well,
Speaking-
I know it's on my calendar, but I don't remember when Father's Day is.
The 16th, it's on the 16th, June 16th.
Okay, so it's about 10, 12 days from now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that Family Tree DNA is probably gonna come out probably by the end of the week with some
Yeah, I'm
kind of sale
hoping,
for Father's Day.
I keep watching for it.
Yes, Bobby?
I don't know if people have checked their family tree DNA kits recently or the matches, but their practice, they're doing the Y right now. They're doing the Y. They'll do the mitochondrial at a different time of the autosomal test, all except the transfers. Although I guess eventually they're going to try to do the transfers as well. But I looked at it a few days ago, and it's really helpful for those who haven't tested
Right.
to see at least some indication if they're in the ballpark or not. And I would suggest that people go to, if they have kits on Family Tree DNA and want to see this information, to go to it, because in comparing, I mean, I can double check because I have other relatives that I've tested that known people that I can compare against. And I think it's doing fairly accurate and reasonable results.
I got a message from one of the projects that well, I don't belong to it because I don't have any Y DNA, but it's my mother's maiden name. So and he was saying that the cousins that I have tested for the Y, all of their haplogroups have changed. But what that means is they've moved down the chart, so it's a deeper test. And it's good because it is showing that some of those brick walls that I have are a little more accessible because we have more than one person who is in there. So yeah,
And they're getting new branches also.
yeah. And again, put that haplogroup tree together.
And they're trying to do the same with mitochondrial.
Yes, that'll be good too.
And that's what that case study that you sent through was about, was the mitochondrial, which is kind of encouraging simply because there are so many matches, at least for instance with my dad. But I mean, what do you do with all of it is the whole thing. It's overwhelming. And I'm thinking now there's going to be a better pathway to using that information.
The mitochondrial is going to provide a little more information, sort of like the, the big why
Right.
and all, which is how far back do these people, yeah.
Connect.
Give me a time frame that these
Right.
people have a common ancestor, that kind of thing. But yeah, it'll be good. So any other comments? Because yes, Vernon, we can't hear you.
Question for Bobby. So what was the indication that you were seeing Y DNA haplogroups for people who've autosomal tested? What did they send a message? And when you went to the site, where did you go to look for it?
I just went to my dad's matches, or, and some of them I knew because they had tested, but those who had not done a specific Y test, the autosomal match that was like a 400 plus centimorgan match, who I contacted initially, and that was several years ago, haven't been in communication since. His Y now has a haplogroup alongside his name, on the match list.
I think that's maybe what Vernon was asking is it shows when you see your matches, it actually shows right there by their name the estimate, if you will, of their either mitochondrial and or Y DNA. And it hasn't rolled out to everybody yet. My understanding was that they were doing it with like the first kits that had tested, and then they were doing it with the second wave, perhaps on the different chip. And then lastly, they were going to do the people who had transferred their information, from another testing company and had uploaded. So it's kind of rolling out in waves. So if you happen to see some of your matches and it's not, doesn't show that estimate yet, cross your fingers because it may still be coming. There's actually a couple of people that I'm waiting to see. I'll be curious to see what their estimated haplogroups are. So
are you saying I should look at my matches?
yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it may show that some of them are a Y DNA match to me?
Right. Not
Because normally I
necessarily.
would look under Y DNA to find Y DNA matches.
No, just look under your autosomal matches, and it's kind of it's basically, I think, that just like how 23andMe without actually testing an mitochondrial or a Y test, they give an estimate, and or excuse me, with FTDNA, 23andMe is doing the same thing, where it's an estimate. You don't have to actually take that test.
Right. Go to your autosomal match list, the Family Finder match list. And if you scroll over each person's name, it will show you what they have put in there for the Y.
Correct.
Yes.
And if I don't know if they're doing anybody who hasn't tested Y. Are they doing anybody who hasn't tested Y?
Right. That's the thing. Yes, they are.
Yes.
Okay.
You won't find them on your Y match list. You'll find them in your autosomal Family Finder match list.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's going to be very helpful. It'll
Right.
be lousy for sorting because you've got to go through every single one of them. But again, that's why I put together, that's why I do that Excel spreadsheet.
I was going to say, this is spreadsheet haven.
Yeah, well, I put all of my matches for all the companies into one spreadsheet. And one of the columns is, haplogroups, so that I can sort them. But you have to keep that up.
Right.
It just doesn't come naturally.
And time isn't always,
And time is right.
that's the biggest thing.
Yes, Terry.
I have a question for Bobby and Cindy then. So you go there and you look on your autosomal, how can you tell if the Y DNA they're showing was inferred or tested?
Because they wouldn't be showing up on your Y match list.
So you have to do some cross between the two, I guess. Because like I'm looking at my dad's, and I see some people that did take Y DNA tests that I know. But then I see others that say Y DNA NA. So maybe I haven't gotten it yet. I don't know.
That's possible.
I'm not sure, so don't hold me to this, but I seem to recall that if they actually took a test, it would say like Y37 or Y111 and then the result. And if it's just one that the company is estimating, this generated estimate, I believe it just simply has it listed and doesn't designate a particular test.
Level, okay.
Okay. So
Oh.
this is mine, and this is my family finder, my autosomal list. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I just clicked on somebody, and Grady Anthony Siebert does not have a Y test. David Earl Pope has a Y test. He did a Y67. So he actually tested that. It
Right.
does not show that Grady tested at all. I mean, he obviously tested my autosomal,
Autosomal, right.
except where did I see that he was he transferred? I think I saw someplace that he
You've got
transferred.
somebody above them transfer.
Mine is I, but it's not that terminal
Okay.
haplogroup. No.
But anyway, you can see here that he did not test Y, but so he probably tested. I guess he would have tested at Family Tree DNA, just the family finder.
Yeah.
Right.
And nice haplogroup here.
Yes, and I think if I heard Cindy right, I think she's saying that they're doing the more the older kits first, but that's the opposite. They're doing the older kits last.
Mhm.
They're doing the newer kits first and then working their way backward. And then they will try doing the transfers after that, because the chips were different. So they used the most current chip, I think, to get started on this. And then they're going backwards with using the previous chips.
Okay.
Okay, I stand corrected. Mom got it right.
Moms are always right.
Well, not always, but
Hey,
like
that's
to
what I tell
think
my
so.
daughter.
There's some neat stuff coming out of this too for people. If they have not done a family finder, but if they've done an old Y match or an old Y test on Family Tree DNA, I've gone back and looked at some of my old matches that are like they did a Y12 or a Y24, and they've actually enhanced the haplogroup estimate on those now.
Huh.
Wow.
It used to be just like, IM253 or something like that, real high up on the haplogroup. on the haplo tree, they've actually extended those branches down quite a bit. So there's all kinds of stuff going on.
They're refining it.
I'm hoping that Family Tree DNA will put out a white paper or something like that and explain what they're doing with that as well, because it's more than just the Family Finder results. So if you have someone who's taken a Family Finder plus an old Y test, but not a big Y, go back and look at their Y haplogroup, and you'll see that the numbers are changing on those, which is kind of neat.
Great.
Hey, Dean, I got a question. Are you IM253?
Yeah, I've taken big Y 700, so that's way up there at the top.
I don't know even what that means, but my husband is IM253.
A lot of Europeans are.
Do you need to be on that Long Lost Family show?
We're all related. You may have to go back to the Ice Age to find our common link. They're there.
Hey, you could be Vikings, you could be.
It's
No.
the Vikings. It's the Vikings. I got all I-253.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, high on the tree, when you use that? I've never heard that. What does that mean?
Well, we all start out with a genetic atom in the case of Y DNA. And so
Right.
going down the branches of the tree, you have these different branches that extended into Europe at different times. And they're all designated with, I and R. And so these are all different sort of trunks of the tree. And then when you take these more advanced tests, it takes you further and further out into the branches to more recent mutations. And so I'm a member of IZ382, a group project that is looking at one remote branch on the I tree. And Z382, though, is still pretty old. It's about 3,000 years old. So it's not something where you go into your family tree and figure out who's the dude that had the mutation. But
That's what we need. We need Who's Your Daddy. But no,
Yeah.
and again, just to flesh it out just a tiny bit, I don't want to take too much time, but we've done his 700 as well. And all of his matches, all of them are not only Finnish, but they're in Finland. There's only one family that's in Canada. And so that's our huge mystery. So I don't know, he doesn't even, on his pie chart, his only quote European comes from his mom's line, which is some English and some Scottish, but we know that tree all the way back to France and, very, very long time. And that's not his. Anyway, I'll find out more about it, but super interesting. Whoa.
Yeah, it is. Well, people moved around through time too. So when you go back through these haplotrees, you're looking at humans in prehistory at different places around Europe. And using that Z382 again, if you look at the preponderance of people who carry this mutation, they're in southern Sweden. And so it's thought to have been a mutation that took place in Scandinavia, and it radiated outwards through the Viking period into other parts of Europe, which is why, my family comes from southern Germany, which is a long way from Sweden. But the current thinking is that
No, but those guys got around.
they did. The Vikings went up the Rhine, they went up on the major river systems. And so the current thought is with this particular mutation, that's how it dispersed through Europe. And there's a high concentration in certain parts of the British Isles. Again, that's thought to represent Viking introduced DNA.
Wow.
Is family FTDNA going to do a similar thing for mitochondrial, or is it just for Y? Mitochondrial is coming too?
Yes.
Great.
That's what I hear.
Mitochondrial is coming too. Right now they're working on that big, the big tree.
Mito, yeah.
Yeah, the big tree. But I have my fingers crossed that they will also start putting doing individual tests also. now 23andMe and Living DNA, they do a lot of imputation for the SNPs that they test. But Family Tree did not do much imputation. So I don't know if they have enough information on some of these tests or not. Also, some of these tests are aging.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, supposedly they're good for about 5 years. But I know I've got tests that I'm managing that are almost 10 years old. So I don't know how much info they can get from that.
I just went on Family Tree DNA, and my Y is RM1269 or something like that. And I had my brother do DNA, and according to Family Tree DNA, his is different. Now, does that mean he's not my brother, or does that mean they didn't do a good job?
I don't know, but I'll tell you that the same thing happened with my husband, and we got his haplogroup, and then his brother's was different, and I'm like freaking out.
I think it's a Family Tree DNA problem.
No, what happened, what I did is I Googled the two of them, and up popped somebody had put together a little image thing where they took the tree and it's just a little bit different on the big tree. They both have they both come together at the next whatever nodule or whatever it is. But it was sure a shock for a while.
Well, it is possible that a mutation could have taken place between two births.
Oh yeah. Well, that's how they get different numbers. Yes.
But also it's possible that depending on when the kits were the samples were taken, if there's, like you were just talking about, degradation or change of procedures. Because it's the number of points that they count.
So Walt,
Yes.
is this really your brother?
I always thought it was my brother. And he has since died, but I had his DNA there, and it might be that it's the same number, a little bit different on the tree or something, the way they do the analysis.
Yes.
I'm gonna look at that number because I believe he's my brother. I don't know if I have other brothers that have tested. I don't think I do on Family Tree DNA.
Did he do an autosomal? I mean, that would tell you if he's your brother.
Yes, he did an autosomal. He's on MyHeritage. He's not on Ancestry, but he's my brother according to my
according
heritage.
to your mother.
According to my mother, according to my father, and according to MyHeritage. But Family Tree gives them a different haplogroup. But I'm gonna search that haplogroup to see how it's related.
Yeah.
Okay. Vernon.
So I was going to make a suggestion for Sally. So this was your husband you were talking about?
Yeah.
And he's taken Big Y?
Yes.
So one of the things you can do if that's the case is to look at the globe tracker. Have you looked at the Discover globe tracker feature that's available for?
You talking about the migratory, or where the others are?
Yeah, if I can share my screen, I'll show
I
you
was gonna
what
say,
I'm
can
talking
you pull
about
that
for
up,
me.
Vernon? Yeah.
I hope you don't find it, because I'm waiting till we have a tiff, and then I can tell him that he's degraded and a mutant.
So this is the result for me, and everybody starts in Africa. So here's Y Adam. So
we have
the
that.
line goes sort of this way as a function of time, and in a minute I'll play the video, and it
Yep.
will move. But
We did that. We did do that. We have it
okay,
in
so
our plan.
this is the A haplogroup here, and B and T, and
Right.
C and GHL. I doesn't start until you get over here, and then there's I in Europe, and then it, branches, and it ends up. This is my ancestor James Smith in England here. So you can see it move away through the so this is a function of time is progressing, and if I stop it, you can see we're now at 28,000 BCE, so still a very long time ago. And start it again. Let's start again. Yeah.
Now, can you go to the Discover?
Yeah. So this was you can put in your haplogroup here. So if you know your husband's haplogroup, you can put it in here and search. And it shows you lots of stuff.
Right.
If I search for mine, so it comes up in first of all with the haplogroup story, and these are all things you can click on and get different.
Yeah, we've done that. I just had never heard Dean's description of saying, high up on the tree and that stuff. But I do find it very, very interesting that all of his matches are the same. Almost all. Well, there's a few others, but the top ones are all IM 253.
So this is my terminal haplogroup, and it was generated 1300 or approximately so. And so if we go back up here, we're going up the tree. And if we look at you can change the timeline and look at different aspects of this and go further back in time.
Do you have any matches, Vernon?
Do I have matches? Sure, I have matches. They're not tremendously. I have to go back to
the block.
Takes a while for family tree DNA to generate stuff. So I have matches that are STR matches, so 111
no, I meant down at the
markers.
block.
Big Y, I have matches. And I have very few, and they're not very close. Probably one of the best things to look at. Oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. Is the block tree.
Yeah, that's the best one. It just takes a while.
It takes a while.
A lot of data to pull up.
Doesn't usually take quite as long. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm doing Zoom. Okay. So this is my branch here, and these two matches split off back up here, and they developed slightly different terminal haplogroups. They have this. I don't have that. I just have private variants. meaning other SNPs that they don't have and nobody else
No
has.
one else has it either.
No. Well,
It's very
it might be
private.
one other person who has, but we won't know until they need a minimum of 3 people to have
Right.
the same things to give it a name.
But if you go to that place where you have a common ancestor there that it says I, Y, whatever,
This,
go all the
yeah.
way to the left, doesn't that tell you the time frame?
Yeah,
that
these are
common ancestor?
15 SNPs approximately, and 50, and the rate for developing SNPs, the average is about 80 odd years per SNP.
Which is pretty close.
Well, 80 times 15 means it goes back to that 1300 that you saw an estimate for
Yeah.
before, something of that time frame. And that's back beyond where I've done genealogy, except for one line. I have one line that goes back, but it's not my paternal line.
Back to 1300?
Goes back to 1135, but that doesn't help me because it's not maternal, not paternal.
Mm. This
Yeah.
is this is
So,
a good
so
way to
this
do it.
guy, Gurney Pearsall, is an MD in LA, and he's black. So work that one out. It turns out that he thinks he has a paternal ancestor back many hundreds of years ago in the West Indies. So, you know,
Oh, that would make sense. Yes.
starting from England, going to the West Indies, and then coming down to him. This guy we've had no success really tracing back very far because his grandfather was illegitimate, so it's tough to deal with it. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of people here. If you notice over here, there's Doen, and DOAN and DOANE, and here too. So I got interested when I first saw that because for a while they looked like they were my closest matches, but
and you're researching the Smith line.
these are SNPs, yeah.
No, Smith.
So they think that their ancestor was a John Doan who came to Plymouth Plantation in 1630. But they have so far been unsuccessful in figuring out which family in England he derived from. And they've tried very hard. They were excited when they saw me as a match because they thought that was a way back into who the English family was, but our genealogy isn't good enough to really determine anything useful.
Mm.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay, that was good.
Yes, thank you.
And
Well, I was gonna say, it didn't really dawn on me before, but I think Vernon probably gets the prize for trying to research one of the most difficult names.
Yes.
Smith. I mean, and hopefully your ancestors weren't named John.
Yeah. My third great grandfather was a John Smith, and his father was a James Smith.
Oh
Go
dear.
figure.
I'm not sure you could do anything without DNA.
Well, I got them back to Birmingham in England round about mid 1700s, but back beyond that, I haven't really been successful.
Mm. Okay. Okay, any other comments there? Okay. All right, I have, as I mentioned before, uh, that blog post had me fascinated. So I'm going to go over that a little bit and talk about some of the things that she did that really I think she's done really well. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. Are you seeing just this or are you seeing the whole thing? You're probably seeing the whole thing, right?
We're saying presenter.
Okay, well, let's try that again. Oh, that's right. Martha told me that it moved. Okay. Well, that's not even the right,
Go past there.
I don't know where that thing is. Because my screen, oh, here, let me put that down. My screen has it up here. It's just that you guys can't see it. Okay. Well, I'm not being very good at working this thing. Look, I can't even get you guys back onto my screen.
We're here.
Good. I'm glad because I'm not doing well. Okay.
There you go. You got,
I think we're getting close here.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, for those who have not read this, Georgianne Gibson wrote this, and I'm just blown away by one, how well she researched, but two, how well she wrote it up. I just
And the short period of time.
yes, yes. Well, she went through several years because she went through the pandemic with it, but like you say, it didn't take her very long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long she was looking for this great grandmother. That's all she knew about her, is that her name was Mary Gagne, and that's all she knew. And this was her grandmother, Mabel. And what she did is she had her DNA tested and she had her mom's DNA tested. And that's kind of one of the lessons learned, which is, you test as far back as you possibly can, because it's, as Walt was saying, 50% of 50, you only get 50%. So there's, you want to go back as far as you can. So Mary Gagne, she uh, Georgianne knew that Mary Gagne was in Elmira, Michigan, when Maybelle was born in 1883, but she couldn't find any birth records, any marriage records, any death records, anything for Mary Gagne, her great grandmother. She had Mabel's Social Security application, and that's how she got Mabel's birth info, but that's all she had. She couldn't get anything else, no other information. So again, she looked for the traditional stuff. She decided to try the DNA and worked the census records while she was waiting for the DNA to come back. So one of the things that she found when she worked the census records was she found a Mabel Gagne, LaFrancis, which was what her grandmother's name was, LaFrancis. So she found Mabel, or she thinks she found Mabel, living in Illinois with her father, her stepmother, and biological siblings and step siblings. And all of them, all of the biological siblings had been born in 1888 or later. I guess the step siblings had been born in 1888 or later. So she deduced from that that Mary probably died before that 1887. And then this is what constituted the father's family. So she did the DNA for herself and her mother. She waited for the results. You know, we've all done this, you know, you do the testing and then you have to wait a couple of weeks. It doesn't come out instantly. Drives us crazy. And I thought she did a really good, neat thing, which is she jumped into some DNA classes. She took some of the classes and sessions that were on Roots Tech, and then she found some that were in other resources too. But she learned about the DNA and how it worked, so that was good. Then she and her husband took a trip to Elmira, Michigan. This is the picture I have of Elmira, Michigan. It's way up there on the Upper Peninsula. Well, no, it isn't. The Upper Peninsula, isn't the Upper Peninsula up here? Are there any Michiganders? No Michiganders. Okay.
Yep.
This is the main part of Michigan, but it's up here pretty far. She had contacted the Catholic diocese and found out that there were 3 Catholic churches. And, you know, she describes trying to find information in those. And the only thing she came up with was a baptismal certificate for what she believes is Mary's youngest brother, Robert. That's from that 1900 census with the stepbrothers and sisters and her biological siblings. So on here, she found that the mother and father of Robert, that she thinks was the brother, were Charles and Mary, and the godparents were Napoleon and Elizabeth Gagnier. So she got a really good find with that. And that brings me to something that a lot of us forget when we're doing our research, which is there can be a lot of different spellings of the surname. These were just 5 that I found in her blog, you know, in that blog. I'm sure she found at least that many more in her research. Most all of these are pronounced the same, Gagnier, the French pronunciation, but the census taker who's hearing it didn't necessarily expect it to be spelled the same way. When the DNA matches came in, she real quickly searched the trees and was looking for anything that looked familiar. What she found was that several of the trees had Gagnier in their tree. And it looked like one of her matches, Sandra, had a grandmother who had a sister named Mary. So she decided to use that mitochondrial DNA to see if, since Sandra went up that was her matrilineal line, her mother's 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 mother. And so she used Sandra for that mitochondrial line. And then she did something that I thought was really interesting. Now, it looks like she probably used an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not sure I would have the patience to put all of this information in this um, in this way, but she did a very nice job here. I would have used my genealogy program, or I would at a minimum I would have put it into an ancestry tree. But she did this on what looks like a spreadsheet, and it worked quite well for her because she could then see that Sandra was the match that had a sister named Mary. Here's Ida and Mary. Daphne is the one that tested mitochondrial, and she saw that Daphne had a C haplogroup. She may have had more numbers and letters to that, a more explicit haplogroup, but she didn't. But Georgiana did not mention that in her text. But it matched both Georgiana and her mother Mary that she tested. And then Karen was another one who had these Gagne in her tree also. And what it looks like from the way Georgianne laid out this tree on an Excel spreadsheet, it looks like this is Margaret and Louis are the most recent common ancestors. I am not going to try to pronounce those names, those last names. I'm not good at French at all. So Sharon here, her great grandmother had a sister named Mary. Daphne is consistent with the mitochondrial DNA, and Karen showed up when she did through lines and had a really good tree on Ancestry. So all of those were very helpful in finding that most recent common ancestor. Then she did some chromosome mapping. Now she went to GEDmatch to see if there was any triangulation. I probably would have had everybody transfer to MyHeritage and work it from there, because in addition to the triangulation, you can also get more matches. But your map is going to come out very similar to this, whether you use DNA map, DNA Painter, MyHeritage, or GEDmatch, this particular tool on GEDmatch. And you can see here that Sandra and Karen both share the same segment with Mary. Mary is Georgiana's mother, and she's the main tester that we're looking at. So we know that all three of them have the same common ancestor right there on chromosome 11. And that coincides with the Margaret and Lewis that her paper tree showed us who the common ancestors were. Now she looked at the mitochondrial list, and I just used mine as an example because I don't have anything for her. I don't have her list, but the genetic distance of 0, and she contacted everyone with a genetic distance of 0, and she got no responses whatsoever. So she kind of set that aside. In the meanwhile, someone with a genetic distance of 2 contacted her and said, and had some suggestions. and told her that that particular haplogroup was consistent with something that he was doing. And she said she never
Okay.
would have,
Hey,
she, what? Oh, I thought somebody had a question. So she said she never would have thought to look at people with a genetic distance of 1 or 2. Now, my understanding of mitochondrial DNA, Vernon was just talking about Y DNA and saying that you can get those hiccups about every 80 years. Well, with mitochondrial DNA, it's more like 10 to 20 generations before it before you get a hiccup. Now, you can get a hiccup between mom and grandma, or you and mom, but in general, you get so few I call them hiccups that that I don't really spend a lot of time looking at genetic distance of 1 or 2. In this case, the person who ran the project at Family Tree DNA saw that she had come onto the list and gave her a heads up to the project and suggested that she join 2 projects, both the C haplogroup project and the French Heritage DNA project. Now, these group projects are free to join. You do have to have tested or transferred to Family Tree DNA, but they pool all of the results, and then they can do studies on matching and all. Whether it's a Y DNA project, a mitochondrial DNA project, they also have some autosomal DNA projects. But I urge you to join as many of these as might have relevance to your own family research. Surname projects are great to join. They do not have a Burrow, Burrow project that I can join, but they do have a Burough project that I'm a part of. Or actually the people that my cousins are part of. But definitely look at the projects at Family Tree DNA and see what might be relevant to you, because there's lots and lots of good info that can happen with that. What this match told her is that she probably descends from a group called King's Daughters. Louis XIV sent a group of women, volunteer women, to go over to Canada. And this was a part, he believed that one of her great whatever grandmothers was one of these king's daughters. So he helped her with some of the research to find out where that great grandparent might be. Turns out it's her 9th great grandmother, 9 great grandmothers up, and they all have the mitochondrial haplogroup of C4A1A. And this is what she ended up with, 9 generations. I thought that was really cool to be able to get that far back and to get a really good story. So the lessons learned here is keep that haplogroup family tree. Just you need to keep track of the haplogroups in your family, in your ancestors, somewhere, whether it be a spreadsheet or in your program, somewhere you need to keep track of that, because it's going to come in handy on one of those brick walls that you work with. You all will also want to use the oldest family member to test. You want to be open to multiple surname spellings and a combination of both the traditional research and the and DNA. And don't give up, because those brick walls, you can get through those brick walls. So I don't know if you were as fascinated with that write-up as I was, but I was just amazed at how well she did. Yes, Bobby.
I too, I happened to be reading that the day that your notice came through with that, because I got the blog also. But what struck me is my father's adoptive parents. His paternal line was French Canadian, and it went back to the 1600s to a soldier in Canada who married one of those
King's daughters.
Ah, and his wife's name. Now this is my father's adoptive grandmother's maiden name was Gayon, or Gagnon. And
wow,
they lived in Upper Michigan. So I'm going to check and see if there's, because of the spelling issues and all that sort of thing, just out of curiosity.
That would be so cool. Yes.
See if there's a connection.
Yes, that's wonderful.
In my spare time.
In your spare time.
Yes.
Oh,
but yes,
oh,
it was a very good example of what you can do.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I'm just fascinated that you saw a connection to your own family tree.
Yes.
Or the adopted side.
Yes.
I'm also impressed that you're doing research on that adopted side. My grandmother was adopted, and I did research on both her biological side and her adopted side. And you know, my feeling is that it's the adopted parents that she grew up with, that she learned her values from, that she, you know, she learned how to, you know, how to be herself. And
traits can be inherited, but behavior is learned.
Yeah. Yep. Good. So anyone else have any comments on the story? Yes. Yes, Sharon. We can't hear you.
I had my husband's mitochondrial tested. He's the only one who's tested that far. So you may not always get someone who tests, who's gone that far. And he's at J1C8B.
Oh.
So I can never compare him with anyone else.
I'm a J1C.
Oh,
you're a J1C. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So when you look at the test, or when you look at the results, there's no one else on the list?
No, there's plenty of on the list, but they've never tested this far, you know, to pay the full price. They may have done the basic test. And, you know, he's there and it always drops down. And so to me, the mitochondrial is frustrating, probably because my mitochondrial is the most common. So that's frustrating. And partially, I say on my husband's, it goes back to near Luxembourg in Germany. So it's logical the French aren't known for their DNA testing, or neither are the Germans. But
what I got the most out of all of these testings, it's testing my husband's big Y and testing my brother's big Y.
Mm.
But my brother's came out, there was no difference between the 500 and the 700. It's basically the same.
In the results.
They
And
they don't do the 500 anymore.
No, I realized, but I did the 500 when it was first available. And then finally I persuaded him again. Every year I harped on it, you know, when the 700 came out, because he's hesitant of giving out so much DNA all over the place.
Mm.
But
Well, I'm kind of puzzled about the mitochondrial.
yeah, he's on the list, and there are other people who are just plain old J 1C or whatever, but no one's carried it out, you know, to compare anyone even close. And it always drops down.
So I don't have it up here. What?
There are 3 levels.
But yeah, there are different levels. It drops down to a lower level. And
I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna make a note to kind of go over that the next time we meet.
okay.
And we'll do that because it looks like we're running overtime here. Okay, I hope you all have a very, very good summer.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to use the Groups.io communication tab. And if you have questions about something you're doing, or you want someone else's input, put it on there. And I'm sure that we have so many people who have some good experience with this stuff that that we'll be able to give you some ideas. So
Good thought.
have a very good summer, and we will see you in September.
Mhm.
Enjoy.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Happy summer.